Welcome to My Utmost for His Highest for September 14th. Arguments or obedience? We're looking at 2 Corinthians 11 verse 3. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, the chapter title is Paul and the False Apostles. I hope you will put up with a little of my foolishness, but you are already doing that. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promised you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. Verse 3. But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. And I have a note here in my Bible, read the Bible so you know what is false. And that's really important too, like with the dollar bill, when they're teaching them how to look for counterfeits, they don't show them all the counterfeit bills, they show them a real dollar bill so they know exactly what it looks like. So the same thing, we should be reading the Bible so we know when we read something false that it's not from the Bible. Arguments or obedience? Simplicity is the secret to seeing things clearly. A saint does not think clearly until a long time passes, but a saint ought to see clearly without any difficulty. You cannot think through spiritual confusion to make things clear. To make things clear, you must obey. In intellectual matters, you can think things out, but in spiritual matters, you will only think yourself into further wandering thoughts and more confusion. Isn't that a great way to put that? If there is something in your life upon which God has put His pressure, then obey Him in that matter. Bring all your arguments and every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ regarding the matter, and everything will become clear as daylight to you. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5. Your reasoning capacity will come later, but reasoning is not how we see. We see like children, and when we try to be wise, we see nothing. Matthew 11 verse 25. Even the very smallest thing that we allow in our lives that is not under the control of the Holy Spirit is completely sufficient to account for spiritual confusion, and spending all of our time thinking about it will never make it clear. We can spend all our time thinking about it, it's never going to make it clear. Here's the solution. Spiritual confusion can only be conquered through obedience. As soon as we obey, we have discernment. This is humiliating because when we are confused, we know that the reason lies in the state of our mind. But when our natural power of sight is devoted and submitted in obedience to the Holy Spirit, it becomes the very power by which we perceive God's will, and our entire life is kept in simplicity. So that's what he's saying here, the simplicity of Christ, trying not to make everything so confusing, but several just really great things in there, talking about how if we just keep trying to think about things and not obey, we're just going to get into more spiritual confusion and just kind of do a downward spiral. I wrote something in here from before, years before when I had read through this devotion, and I'll share it with you. It's Micah 6:8, and it talks about, what does the Lord require of me? To act justly, to show mercy, and walk humbly with my God. Those are the three things. And when you just think about that, if you're obeying with that, you're not going to have any spiritual confusion. So I'm just going to share those three again, that if we do these, act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. A lot of people think, oh, I want to do God's will, and they make everything so confusing, when really, if it's just, it is so simple. If you would just do those three, you probably wouldn't have any spiritual confusion because you'd be obeying God and you'd be in tune with Him. So I hope today that you try not to make things too complicated. Just live simply. All we need to know really is that we're sinners, He forgives us, He loves us, and we're supposed to serve Him. And with that, Mandy's done, and she's going to jump off. Are you going to go? I hope you have a good day, keeping things simple. We'll see you tomorrow. You can order your own copy of the My Utmost for His Highest devotional book by going to utmost.org. And I would love to answer any questions you may have about faith in Jesus. Just email me through my website, nancyjoytoyou.com. And I hope you go out and shine for Him today. See you tomorrow.